we're going to cover just basic ergonomics and how just posture alone can cause problems for your entire body, and how problems for your entire body can create bad posture. It's a positive feedback loop. Things get worse unless they're treated. So we'll start with upper body. Upper body, if you're human, you'll have those rounded shoulders, tight chest. Your head will usually look up like this, whether you're on your computer or you're playing video games or you're on your phone or you're eating food, playing pool. Any of those are going to be causing you to have that posture right there. So what we need to do is just do the opposite. So first thing we're going to start with is doing a scapular retraction. Key for this is keeping the shoulders down. We don't ever need to work on trap exercise. Everybody's like this all the time. That's what the trap does. We don't work on that. So we keep the shoulders nice and down the entire time. Take our elbows close to our body, and you're just going to retract backwards. They call it scapular retraction because you're going to be retracting those shoulder blades, putting them together. You feel a nice squeeze between the middle of those shoulder blades. Hold for a few seconds and come forward. Not only do you get the back muscles a little bit stronger, but you also get the pec muscles to kind of stretch at the same time, just like this. Key for this is about muscle tension. You want to be able to feel that contraction. The more that muscle contracts, the stronger it will be, and the more it will be turned on just doing your day-to-day activities. So the stronger it is, the tighter it will be, and that will just naturally carry your shoulders backwards. All right. Second element is just stretching out the pecs. So you can find like a door frame, one of these. Kind of go forward, feel that nice little stretch. You can put arms out wide. Arms out wide for me hurts my shoulders, so I don't do that. Arms close will kind of get more of the pecs. Whatever you figure out feels the best, do that variation. In terms of the neck, so if we're always like this, we need to be like this. All right, so this is called like lower cervical flexion, upper cervical extension. Let's do lower cervical extension and upper cervical flexion. They call this a deep neck flexor stretch. Whole point of this is just getting your chin. You can use your fingers and just going straight down. You're almost pushing your chin kind of like back and down at the same time. Think more back than down. Now the key for this is if you're an athlete or you're just someone who's really tense, you're going to want to like use all your neck muscles and work really hard, very gentle. It should be a very gentle stretch. And the key for this is we're trying to strengthen our neck core. Just like your core down here, you have core muscles in your neck that help facilitate this motion. So if we're always like this, these are getting loose, they're getting relaxed, they're getting not fatigued, but atrophied. They're just not getting as strong. So if we keep these engaged by doing these little deep neck flexor exercises, not only is it going to strengthen this, but it'll give a nice stretch back here, help these tight suboccipitals, which are always tight, get a little bit more relaxation too. Doing these, hold for about, 3 to 5 seconds, something like that. Do that 10 times, scap retraction 10 times, just to start yourself small, and then you can always build it up from there. Just like that. These, pec stretch. And then if you want to just like isolate each one of the muscles that's giving you some of that tightness, we can just do a classic trap stretch, going to the side. If you want to get kind of more of the back of the muscle, you can kind of target it at like a 45-degree angle. Kind of the side, kind of forward. Kind of the side, kind of forward. And you can just go straight down, just like that. Second thing is going to be hips. A little more complicated here. But if you can imagine, this is like a little box. And then at all corners, there's a muscle there. So the top of the corner is going to be the abdominals, right here. Down below that is going to be the hip flexors. On the top corner is going to be like your lumbar, rector spinae muscles. There's a bunch of muscles down here, kind of your SI joint. And then below that is the glutes. You kind of have this square anatomy going on. So what most people have, which is what I have as well, is an anterior pelvic tilt. And what's happening there is muscles are improperly activating to create that motion. That's just what we do. Because when someone says stand tall or sit tall, most people do this, arching that back kind of thing. That is bad for you. You don't want to do that, because what's happening is you're tightening these rector spinae and you're tensing these hip flexors. We sit down all the time. That's all we do. And if you're sitting down, right, these are always going to be tight. This is always going to get tight, and it'll just continue to have back pain and hip flexor pain. So for someone like me, who always trains their low back and always trains their hip flexors, it's probably because of the excess anterior pelvic tilt. So if this is causing us to do this, so this is getting tight, and this is getting tight, these kind of like, you can imagine this like a diagonal. So the bottom diagonal, tight, top diagonal, tight. This one's loose, This one's loose. What are those? Abs and glutes. No one likes to do those. I don't like to do them either. So because of that, I have constant pain in my low back, constant tightness in my hip flexors. I pull these all the time. So what we need to do is correct that by strengthening the core to get them. You can even see it. If I do like a curl, it naturally does a posterior pelvic tilt, which is what we want. Also, if you do a glute set being you just clench your glutes together, it also does a posterior pelvic tilt, just like that. And that will help correct that bad posture. So if you've got hip flexor pain, you've got low back pain, just like that, you can probably surmise that it's probably associated with this quadrant idea. And most people usually have this. I am one of those people. So we need to work on core strength. We need to work on glute strength. So if you've already pulled your hip flexor or something like that, and we can't use that, start with glutes. So what we're going to do for glutes is we're going to go onto our back, and we're going to just do a classic glute set. All you're going to do, you're just going to squeeze your glutes together. I recommend having your legs all the way down. You're just squeezing the glutes, trying to feel that contraction. The key for this is you want to have, I think it's called endoperception, fancy word for being able to feel the muscle contract by itself and not feel it anywhere else. So I feel it in my glutes, I don't feel it in my low back, I don't feel it in my hamstrings. That's exactly what I want to feel. Hold for about 5 seconds. Very simple, not too bad. Once we get to that level where we actually can feel the glute firing, then we're going to do bridges, our classic. I have very tight hip flexors. I also have very poor glutes, so I'm still working on this. Key for this is you don't want to feel it in your low back. If you do, you're doing it wrong. Feel it in your hamstrings. You should feel it a little bit, but mostly in the glutes. I'll give you like 40%. So from here, doing your glute set, squeezing it together, raise as high as you can. I get to about right here before I start to feel it in my low back. I'm just going to hold it for a little bit, make sure I don't feel it in my low back, and then slowly lower back down. Going back up, hold for about 3 seconds, and back down. I recommend isolating that glute every time. Squeeze first, raise up, just like that. We've done TA draw-ins before, where you kind of squeeze your belly button down. That's also facilitating the abdominals, because that's your inner core, as well as facilitating that posterior pelvic tilt. So we can also work on the glutes, we can also work on the abs. Any way you want to do it will help this whole entire process. It's all connected, all regionally interdependent. Everything is working together. So we can work on glutes while our hip flexor is still healing, and then we can also just work on just natural stretching. So not only can we strengthen the other things that are getting loose, we can also loosen the things that are getting tight. So for us, hip flexor, classic, lunge, push your pelvic tilt is the most important part. We don't want this. This looks like a lunge, which it is, but see how my low back is just hinging right here? And yeah, I'm getting a nice stretch, but at the end of the day, I'm just tightening up my low back more than I should be. That's just going to cause a problem. So if we get to that posterior pelvic tilt position, do the same thing, not only will you feel the stretch more, but you'll do it in a way that's not going to affect your low back, and that's very important. Hold for a few seconds, 20, 30, it doesn't matter to me as long as you feel it. That's all I care about. Just like that. And then we can always work on stretching the low back. I'm a big fan on just your classic, just toe touch right here. If that's too much, you can go back down here and take weight off of the spine. That's always a good one. Child's pose is also a good one. You can widen your knees too if you want. Just getting that nice lumbar traction. And then of course, you can do your prone rock. Prone rock is just, that's right here. You're just like a rock, feeling that nice little bend, just like that. So if you have any of those, which I guarantee everyone I know does, those will be helpful.